Agnes Gonza Boya. She was born in northern Macedonia, Albanian descent. And Agnes had this desire to serve. So she decided to go to India. And she joined a particular convent, Loreto nuns. And as a nun, Agnes was asked to go and teach geography in a very comfortable school, very middle-class school. She used to walk through the streets of Calcutta, and she would go to the Loreto convent school, teach geography and English. And then she would come back to her convent, which is again middle-class convent. Food, there is people to cook, prayer, comfortable bed, nice linen, sleep. But on the way to her school through the streets of Calcutta, she saw a lot of the people who we would call in the margins, those who are struggling in life, those who are probably abandoned because they are too old and the family doesn't want to look after. Those who are poor children who had to go through labor to support the family. Those who are sick and wounded who turned out to be beggars for their sustenance. So she had, I would say, the perspective knowledge of, oh, poor person, if I think of him, oh, I can feel what he goes through. That is a perspective knowledge. Then she may have a procedural knowledge of walking every day to the school to teach. She must have seen this poor man or this beggar or this old person who is struggling on the street. And she must have known how she had the life. He would come and set up his table and maybe sit down and show the amputated leg and ask for money. This is a procedural knowledge of someone who is struggling on the streets. Then she may have a propositional knowledge. She could get up to the children and say, today when I was walking through the streets, I saw this orphan kid and he was crying and obviously he was hungry. She could tell the students from the middle class who are comfortable this propositional knowledge. But then the call for Agnes was not just to know through propositions of poverty, was not through the procedures of a life who is of someone who is so poor and abandoned, or even to have a perspective of their lifestyle and being sympathetic with them. The call for Agnes was to participate. We call that moment metanoia in our spirituality. What is meta? Meta means beyond. Noia means knowledge. Beyond knowledge. So it is easy that as a priest, you can say, I have a procedural knowledge. I know what to do here. And I have a propositional knowledge. I can get up here and yap. That's how I make my living. Oh, I have some sort of knowledge that through actually knowing, studying it by heart. But the call of a Christian is always a participatory knowledge. It is a knowledge that goes beyond knowing. That is why Agnes left the convent. She walked out of the convent, quit her job as a teacher with 5 Indian rupees, less than how many cents? I don't know, maybe less than 2 cents. 5 Indian rupees. She walked out and she became Mother Teresa. She was no more having perspective of the people on the street. She's no more having procedures of their life and knowledge. She's no more talking about their poverty outside the world, but she was living in the streets among the people and she was one with them. And that is the call of all of us. And that is why Christians were so attractive in the early days. Why? Christians were placed in a culture of Rome. In Rome, there were too many known persons. What is known persons? The widows, the orphans, the poor, the old people. To the point, you can have an abortion at that time. You can kill a baby, even if it is 4 or 5, and you think the baby have a disability. You can take the baby and throw it in the bush. You have an old person maybe struggling with Parkinson or struggling with speech disability or dementia. You can leave that old person on the streets or in the bush to die. To this culture where there is too many known persons comes this new vibrant message of Christianity. What was that message? Participate. Metanoia. Jesus always said metanoia. Conversion, we say. Beyond knowing. Conversion means I can read about it. I can think about it. I can say about it. But now I have decided to be immersed into it. Participate into it. So when the Christians came with this knowledge of, I want to participate in your life, then it changed. And that particular love or particular knowing is called agape. Agape is self-renouncing love. And it's going to destroy and disrupt our middle class existence. The reason I use middle class, because I grew up in a middle class family, very comfortable, very comfortable. We were sent to a Catholic school. Mom and dad could afford fees. We had enough food, nice dress. Family was well known and respected grandfather, grandmother. But our metanoia of people who may be struggling, metanoia of suffering people with sickness, it's only changed when my mother became a Parkinson patient. When my mother became someone who needs to be dependent on. When my mother is not able to cook, or she cannot able to complete a sentence. When my dad was diagnosed with cancer and the whole family was called in and say, well, he's going to die, you need to do palliative care. And because you don't have a wife or children or mortgage, you are the right person to be with dad. I was called in. But it's the procedural language of people in palliative care. The propositions of what they will go through. And even perspective of people who have cancer changed from a participation language because someone in my family is dying. I was called, my family was called into this. And there, our love was changed. It is easy to love from a pulpit. It is easy to love from a sympathetic point of view, reflecting on the people in Gaza. Easy to love that. But to participate in it, it's a big, huge challenge. When I had to love my dad, even though he was dying, it was very challenging. When I was sitting with my mother, part of me is, God, where are you? Why can't you heal my mother so I can have a great relationship? Talking, she can walk with me like any other mothers. We were called to self-renounce and love. And that's how Christians became so captivating, so powerful, because they have a particular way of loving. And I see that in our community. Now, when I say real examples, don't get offended. When Sue picks up Shirley and brings her here to Mass, maybe Shirley may feel she may not be able to attend church, she may not be able to drive. In some sense, she may feel known person. When Sue decided to pick her up here before getting up ready and having fine time and bring her here, Shirley is feeling part of the community. She feels like a person. But behind that, there is a participatory knowledge that Sue places herself in that place and renounce and become last to make Shirley first. to become last to make Shirley first. Or even Carol goes to Faye because Faye is going through treatment. And Faye is not able to attend church, but Carol goes as part of our community or as part of a person who is known Christ and able to take her out to the hospital and back, able to be with her and have a coffee. We are going a participatory knowledge. Agape, I renounce my time, I renounce my interest, I become interested in other person. And the secret way of being agape is to be a child. Because what does a child do? The child can't speak propositional knowledge. The child doesn't have a procedural knowledge. The child has only one way to know anything. Put it in its mouth. Put it in its mouth. You know, he took this book. That's Father body. Smell. A child participate in life. Touch the fire. Take the knife. Eat the apple. Smell the mud. Put it in his mouth. A child knows through participation. And that is why Jesus said, if you want to be a disciple, be like a child. And I am challenged because I am very good at propositional knowledge. And my challenge for me is to participate in life. And our middle class life will be disrupted. There will be tragic nature of life catching on with us. Sometimes we have to renounce our expectations of love and then go beyond and participate in the sufferings of others so that the known persons can become persons. Then we will be truly called a follower of Christ. In other words, we were called originally the way, a particular way of loving and being. Amen.